Happy Tuesday, friends. I hope everybody's doing well and working hard on your packets and behaving for your families and just having some fun as well. Okay, so this is Tuesday's math lesson. We are going to take a look at your packet, so go ahead and get those out. And in your packet today, you have another task to do. So you start with one that's called sharing pie. And then your second one is called a cake task. And that just says extension. So that means an extra part. So the title's down here, but the story problem's over here. So before you watch this video and see me solve these problems, I want you to pause the video now, if you haven't already done it, and go try and solve them on your own. Okay? It's important that you try on your own first and then watch this video so that you make sure you are still learning even when you're at home. So, pause this video, go solve the problems, then come back. If you're really having a hard time and can't figure it out, come back and watch and then you'll see. Or when you finish solving, come back and watch and see how you did compared to how a teacher's going to solve it today. Alright, so sharing pie. I went ahead and made my need to know expression chart. And I also drew the pictures that they've already provided for you on your paper in my expression box. So let's read sharing pie and fill in our chart together to organize our information. So Tayana and Jose decided to share an apple pie. Tayana ate 1/3 of the pie. So I'm going to put a T, Tayana, and she ate 1/3. Then Jose ate 2/6 of the pie. So J for Jose, and he ate 2/6 of the pie. Which friend ate more? Well, there's our need to know. So who ate more? Explain your solution using pictures, words, numbers, words, and or a number line. So they've already given you some pictures to use. They made you the two rectangles, and they already partitioned your parts for you. That was really nice. So the first bar is already made into 1, 2, 3 equal parts, so that makes thirds. Well, we can label Tayana's 1/3 there. So right beside that rectangle, I'm going to label it 1/3 because that's the fraction I plan to show by shading in that one. The second one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 equal parts. So that means I can use it to label Jose's because his unit is in 6. So beside the next rectangle that's already partitioned into 6, I'm going to label it 2, 6. Okay, so now if I have 1/3 in my first rectangle, how many parts do we shade? Yes, just one. And our second rectangle, how many parts do we shade? 2, because it's 2/3. 2/6. 2/6. We need to know who ate more between Tayana and Jose. What do we notice from our picture? Yes, they had the same amount. It tells us to explain it in words, so we can write our answer out. So, T and J had the same because, well, how do we know? There's a couple things we could say. T and J had the same amount because 1/3 is the same as 2/6. Or we could use our new vocabulary we've learned about fractions that are equal and say 1/3 and 2/6 are equivalent. So, because 1/3 and 2/6 are equivalent. There we go. We've solved the first story problem. All right, let's take a look at the second one. So I've got my need to know expression chart again, ready to help me solve and organize my information. Miss Race made a delicious chocolate cake. Miss Race gave a piece of cake to each third grade teacher. Miss Wodecki ate 3/4 of her piece. Let's label Miss Wodecki with a W, and she had 3/4. And Miss Jessup ate 4/8 of her piece. Actually, I'd probably eat the whole thing. So, Miss Jessup ate 4/8 of her piece of cake. Who ate more of their cake? Use a model and words to explain your thinking. So again, we need to know who ate more. Alright, some of you might like drawing these rectangles, and that's another great strategy to do here. Some of you might prefer a number line. I'm going to do the rectangles first, then I'll show on the number line, and we'll talk about how we can explain our answer in words from what we find. So I'm going to do my rectangle first. So I drew one big one, and then I split it in half. I'm going to label the top one with my first fraction, 3/4. And then the second part of the rectangle with 4/8. Now, my first story problem, they had already partitioned it for you, but in this one, you'll have to partition it. So our first unit is 3/4, so I need 4 equal parts. So if I'm making 4 equal parts, I can take away 1 to show me how many lines I need. I need 3. Now, is 3 even or odd? You cannot make 2 equal groups with 3, so it is an odd number. When you have an odd number, you can use your middle number to draw the middle line in your shape. So I'm going to split it in half. And make 2 equal parts. And then I know I'm drawing 3 lines, so then I need 1 on each side. So I'm going to do the first part in half and the second part in half. And then I can count to make sure I have 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And look and make sure they look like they're even spaces. Alright, now I need to make 8s below it. But if I know something about 4 to 8, can I double 4 to make 8? Definitely. So, we can make our 4ths again. So you can just bring those lines down. But then you've got to break each one in half to make it into 2 different parts. Now, go back and count to make sure you have 8 parts. And check to make sure they look like they're equally spaced. Sometimes we have to fix it, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want it to be lined up as evenly as possible. So, Miss Wodecki ate 3/4, so on my top rectangle, I'm going to shade 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. Miss Jessup, ate 4/8, so I'm going to color 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, before we do our number line, I can clearly see that 3/4 is more than 4/8. But maybe you prefer a number line or you want to check your work on a number line. So, I'm going to draw a number line. And I'm going to go ahead and do 2 number lines. You could label the same one, but you could also split it up into 2 different ones. Let me space those out a little bit better. It's important when you do 2 number lines to make sure they are the exact same length so that your fractions line up correctly, just like we have to make sure that our 2 rectangles are the same length. So we're going to do our top one with 3/4. So we're going to do an end point and a start point and an end point of 0 and 1. And then we need to separate it into 4ths. So again, if you're making 4ths, you need 3 brackets, 1 in the middle, and then 2 separating the beginning to the middle and the end to the middle. Middle And then separate those. Make sure you have 4 equal parts. And then we're ready to label. 0/4, 1/4, 2/4, and 3/4. I'm going to put a dot at 3/4 to show that is how much Miss Wojcicki had ate of her cake. Now, my next number line, I'm going to start at 0 and end at 1 again. And I want to make sure they line up at the same place where the one on my first number line was. And again, I can make my fourths and then split them in half, because I know that 4 plus 4 makes 8. So I'm going to bring down my lines that I did for fourths, and then I'm going to break them in half. Now I'm ready to label. 0/8, 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, and then 1 would be equal to 8/8. So Miss Jessup ate 4/8, so that's where I will put my dot. And we can see again that 4/8 is closer to 0, and 3/4 is farther from 0. So that shows us that 3/4 is more than 4/8. So who ate more? Miss Wojcicki ate more, because, how do we know? 3/4 is more than 4/8. So we proved it with 2 different pictures. You only have to provide one, but then we also wrote it out in a sentence. And that's important that you do that, because it says model and words. Your model can be the number lines or your rectangle, but you need to have at least one model and then a sentence explaining your answer. If you're still confused about anything, please reach out to your teacher and ask for help on Dojo. We'll be happy to help you guys. Miss you. Talk to you later. Bye.